Civil War II has started. Actually, it started decades ago. Its initial phase we can call Cold War II, but now it's erupted into open insurrection. And if you think I'm being drama mama, let's look at Merriam-Webster's definition of insurrection. An act or instance of revolting against civil authority or an established government. There's a whole wave of this. It's full-blown civil war. Now, commentators who support Donald Trump have been horrified at his reaction. It looks like he's just rolled over and played dead, maybe even turned tail and run. But what is he supposed to do? Our enemies control Hollywood and Wall Street. They dominate corporate America. They own corporate media. They've been infesting our judicial branch with their people for decades. Is he supposed to invade these territories? He has a right to. They're traitors. This is insurrection. But that's what they desperately need. Because, although they act strong, they're actually scared shitless. They need to buy time. If Donald Trump invaded, send in the Marines or the National Guard or whatever, they'd be able to tie him down and be able to buy that time, be able to make all sorts of trouble. Donald is not taking their bait. Let's take a sober assessment of what really is going on. I voted for Donald Trump back in 2016, but for most of this first term, I didn't know what really to make of him. Was he one of the swamp rats? Was he the good cop in a good cop, bad cop con game? Or was he the real deal, fighting secret battles, cutting secret deals, 4D chess? Until now, it could have gone either way. There's nothing he's done for us that could not have been instantly rolled back by the next Democratic administration. Now we can be certain that he's the real deal. He has found the jugular of our enemy. He has committed to going at it, and he's been going at it hard. This, despite all their bravado, is as far as they're going to go. It's all downhill from here. And unless they do something very stupid, nobody alive today will live to see any different. Now, as in all wars, there are two sides. And by nature of who and what I am, I'm not fully on board with either. Both are dangerous for me, or they can be. Either can be advantageous. But only one of them has a genocidal hatred of heterosexual Christian white men. Now, those guys have been a lot of trouble for me. They've been torturing gay men like me for centuries. They've been bad-mouthing my race for centuries, stealing credit for things that we do, and that's bad. But if their enemies win, it's the end of Western civilization, which my people have been working to build for centuries. And if Western civilization goes, the entire world will inevitably be plunged into a dark age from which it will never rise. Guess which side I picked? Now, the enemy is a coward. He would never openly challenge white men. He's chosen instead to come in from the side. He's subverted his moral values. He's made him feel guilty for his many honorable successes, and there are many honorable successes. He's made him feel bad about his moral failings. All at the same time, God forbid this guy ever admit to the stunts that he's pulled, and don't you dare say a word to him. Just shut your filthy, lying, racist mouth, white man. And for 50 years, he's been doing it. Until lately. Till he voted for Donald Trump in 2016. Just like I did. So, how did we get to this point of open civil war? Well, it's not a secret. People have been talking about this for decades. The enemy, who is a coward, once again, came in from the side. He subverted education. Told only half the story, the side that made him look good, obviously. And that way he is able to capture a lot of the weak-minded. They subverted the court system. Did all sorts of crazy things with it. They lied, and they said, for example, that the 14th Amendment gives birthright citizenship. So break on into America, have a baby. Why not two? They're citizens. And raid the welfare rolls, and walk away from car wrecks, and get your health care through emergency rooms and don't pay the bill. Stick white man with the bill, suck him dry, and don't forget to vote. Make it impossible for him to vote for his own politicians. But as I said, that's a lie. The 14th Amendment makes it perfectly clear that if you break into my country, you are under the jurisdiction of the country that you're from. So your child is a citizen of that country, not mine. I don't care where you're from, and it's not my problem. Mexico, Guatemala, Russia, France. And now, as a matter of fact, that kid cannot grow up and vote in our elections. That's voter fraud. So even if not a single official illegal alien voted in our election, and you know damn well they are, that's still massive voter fraud. But there's a problem. There's a problem. In the 60s and 70s, most white people stopped having a lot of kids. But not all of them. Conservative white people continue to have plenty of kids. Their population is growing like mad. But the people that they're bringing in, these allies, patsies really, they have high birth rates too, don't they? Well, they used to when I was a kid, but they don't anymore either. Their birth rates are barely higher than white people, if at all. They also have higher infant mortality rates, which more than make up for that. And because they don't do due diligence on their health, they don't live a long time. So the Chinese virus is hitting them really hard. African Americans too, another one of the patsies used by the enemy. Now, black and brown, these are not the only patsies. This coalition of the ascendant, as I've seen it called, it also includes gay men like me, but not me, and white unmarried women. But neither of us has a lot of babies, and we don't live a long time. So what do they need? What do they need? Well, they need an unending supply of reinforcements. They have to keep that border wide open, and they have to do whatever they can to shove as many people as they can through it. For example, I was part of the Cathedral of Hope here in Dallas. I was so proud when I was joined because it's the big gay church, the biggest gay church in the world. But it turns out to be little more than a George Soros NGO. They were working very hard to get these people into my country. One stunt that they pull that's very interesting is they have these microfinance business loans, small businesses in Mexico and Guatemala or whatever. What could go wrong? Well, they know exactly what they're doing, what they're going to do with the money. They're going to pay for coyotes to break into America. Then they get good jobs and pay off the loan. But most of the time they get thrown out of America over and over again. So when they get thrown out, they'll get another loan. They'll pay that first one, get another coyote, break in, over and over again, rinse and repeat. Now, before we continue on with this conversation, friends and family members and acquaintances often accuse me of being a racist, because I'll tell you what I think about race. But there are people who use the information that I use to attack other races, to try to make them look bad. Those people are racist. Such a thing actually exists. But I know as a Christian that when I meet that individual Negro or Mexican or Chinaman, I have to evaluate each person individually. For lack of a better phrase, I have to assume innocent until proven guilty. They are informed by their backgrounds, as are we all, and I have to track that. So if you have a pit bull, I'm going to hold that against you. But they are human beings with souls, and at the end of days, just like me, they will be resurrected, either to glory or to damnation. I assess as I do in a world that is fallen, knowing it is also impermanent, and also knowing that my Lord, Jesus Christ, has made it perfectly clear that I will be judged as I judge. Thus, even if they're guilty, I have to pray for their souls, for their salvation. Maybe I have to pray for wisdom. Maybe I have to hold off on punishment. Maybe I just turn a blind eye. Sometimes that happens. Or maybe I have to punish them for their guilt. Now remember, Pontius Pilate had the right to give the death penalty. Jesus never argued about that. Yes, these people are flooding our country. They're stealing our welfare. They're driving up our health care costs and our auto insurance rates. They're driving down my wages. They're making me feel like a foreigner in my own country. But what did Donald Trump say about the Chinese? You know how they lie to us and steal from us all the time? He's actually said it about these people too. Well, our leaders let them get away with it all these decades. Obviously, it's not a problem. So what's the problem? Again, it's the same thing here. In fact, they've been helping them out. What's the problem? Now, if we were still in a hot race war and they were still winning like they have been the past 40 years, I would be a lot more intemperate. But I can be magnanimous because we've won the war. I've seen where we're at now compared to what happened after we beat the Japanese at the Battle of Midway. Now, we still had more than 3 years of hard fighting with the Empire of Japan, But after that battle, it was impossible for us to lose that war. So when you factor in their infant mortality rates, they're not keeping up with the white population, especially the conservative white population. So I have to keep bringing in reinforcements, but they're not going to get them because Donald Trump has turned the tables on them. They've been using the Chinese virus to attack white people, to slander and libel them, to subvert their civil rights, their ability to free speech, their ability for free association, while actively supporting the subversion of Black Lives Matter and Antifa in crowded situations, uncontrolled situations, situations guaranteed to make life more dangerous for black and brown because it's hitting them harder than it's hitting us. For us, COVID, it's like we're a great old tree in the backyard. It still sprouts leaves in the summer, not as much as it used to. If it used to bear fruit, maybe not much, if any, anymore. The limbs are sagging a bit. And then one day a summer storm comes through and knocks the tree over. Did the storm kill the tree? No. Old age killed the tree. Oh, but you're so cruel. You're going to die. We're going to die unless the Lord Jesus returns. Come, Lord Jesus. You're going to die. You have to be ready. Is this my summer storm? You never truly learn how to live until you learn that you're going to die and be ready for it. So that you know, you have a sense of urgency to know that your time here is finite. It's killing our old people. It's killing some of our young people, people who get the gaps, but frankly, they don't take their due diligence on their health, and it's killing them, killing younger members of their family. I don't want that to happen. None of us alleged racists want that to happen. We want you to live. We want you to flourish. We want you to get what you need. You need to learn to love God, and I will pray for that. It gets even worse. They're burning down their cities. They're running off white taxpayers. So when all this is over, all over the country, in every Democratic stronghold, I think pretty much all of them, the population is going to be smaller and more impoverished. The demands will be greater. The income will be less. And they knew this was going to happen. They knew all of this was going to happen. And they did it anyway. Why? Because they had to. They had to buy time. But it backfired. Because Donald Trump flipped the script. Trump agreed and he amplified. The virus is dangerous. We got to do something about this. We got to control people's movements. It's damaging the population. We have to manage the damage. We need to end all immigration and cancel all work visas for people coming in from foreign countries. And we need to build that wall. And every day we get another mile of Trump's wall. And it is exactly the wall that the border guards want built. Exactly the kind that they want. Slates where you can see through. And they even painted it black so it's too hot to touch. And we're putting it exactly where we want it to go. So we can reduce, though not eliminate, border guards along that stretch. And so we can channel potential illegal immigrants into the territories that we want them to go, territories that are more strategically advantageous to us. And every day there's one more mile of wall. And every day there's one less mile that they can just walk on in through. And every day we can concentrate our forces into smaller and smaller territory. And every day our strategic position improves. I recently looked over the internet to see what was said about Donald Trump's wall, and I couldn't find anything about it. And I thought, well, I guess they're suppressing the information as usual, although I use DuckDuckGo instead of Google. DuckDuckGo does not spy on you like Google. Would it affect them? Well, probably would. But I couldn't find anything about it. Are they suppressing information? Because if it did, they done screwed themselves over again. Because that means that while they were busy distracting people with all of their bullshit and Donald Trump was acting all helpless, his hombres were down at the border building our wall.